West Hill United is a progressive spiritual community where how you live is more important than what you believe. West Hill United is a people, a place, an idea. We are a community living out of a progressive faith, striving to make a positive difference in our own lives, the lives of others, and the world. Join us Sundays at 10:30 a.m. or connect with us at any time.
Is that good? Yep. Is this good volume on Zoom? Possibly not. Are they saying yes?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yes. Thank you. 2 yeses. Motion carried. The sound is good on Zoom. Jerry Seinfeld on music. Somebody just gave me a shower radio. Thanks very much. Do you really want music in the shower? I guess there's no better place to dance than a slick surface next to a glass door. Total Jerry Seinfeld. I've asked Donna to join me in the readings throughout, as we did last week and the week before. And so she's going to introduce us to the words of a Turkish playwright, Mehmet Murat Edan, about this adventure of music that we're continuing this week. Donna?
Among all the journeys, there is one. It's such a wonderful journey that in seconds it takes you from sadness to joy, from the pit to the clouds, from exhaustion to the peak of action, from despair to hope. It is music.
I just did a quick scroll with the word music in my search. Just a quick one. Here's what's available. Here's what music's doing these days. And this is the titles of these possibilities that you could access. 92-year-old woman with dementia plays Beethoven on the piano. Relaxing music for stress relief. Stop overthinking. 57 awesome family dance party jams. 97-year-old pianist Ruth Slaneska has a new album. English classical pianist Paul Barton plays famous classical music pieces on the piano for elderly and disabled elephants. Beautiful. Best calming music for sleep. 4 hours of music for studying, concentration, and memory. 20 songs to pump you up for cleaning your house. Disney's All-Star Music Resort. And this one, I was charmed with this one. Music songs to listen to. Music songs, as opposed to other kind of songs to listen to. And it says search here. So I did, and I found some music songs to listen to. And the last one, I'm sure many of us have experienced, 70 best car songs to blast while you're driving. If you've ever pulled up beside someone who is blasting and you wonder about their future hearing, I have a couple of things to show you, and I'm hoping, Aaron, that they show well. I'm going to put them right here. How many of you can remember taking music in school from a music teacher that would come to the class and teach music? My aunt was a music teacher in New Brunswick for that. And this is one of the books, the Music Hour, Book 1, and the picture is not how they dress now, but the book is full of little music and big notes. And that's what I remember very clearly learning music in school. And then I have old sheet music, and I'm just going to hold it up. I have Land of Hope and Glory with beautiful illustrations. I have a very decrepit, old version of You Are My Sunshine. I have, and didn't remember I had, and I bet you don't even know it, this song is the answer to You Are My Sunshine. Did you know there was an answer? I didn't know there was a question. But this person is saying, now that I've heard that I am your sunshine, you have made my life complete. I don't know how they did years after that, but at that time they were very delighted with each other. This one is old and torn apart a bit, but this is an example of music that meant a lot during the war. This is We'll Meet Again. We'll Meet Again. And again, it's in tattered form, but I've always kept it. This one, La Vie en Rose. Beautiful. Again, the covers are gorgeous. And then one of my favorites, this is a song called Seashell. And so it's a song, I will tell you the words. It's very profound, very malachologically correct. Seashell, seashell, sing me a song. Oh, please, sing me a song, oh seashell. Seashell, seashell, sing me a song. Oh, sing me a song, seashell. Seashell, 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 oh, please. Malacology, there's no mistakes in that version of a song. And now I want to show you 4 books. I grew up Baptist. I believe at the time of my growing up, we shared a hymn book with the United Church of Canada, which disturbed some on both sides and made some on both sides happy. But if you remember sitting in the pew and getting this little hymn book, and the writing in it is so small, I don't know how anyone was able to read it, but if you had this, and people bought their own sometimes and brought them and used that. And if you were a little older, they made it a bit bigger. Same thing, just the words in this version of this. And then the hymnal with all the music. And I have never found arrangements and chords to surpass the musicality of the music in this book. And it was exactly the same. I think you had a blue version and we had the burgundy version. But the harmony of this, I'll still use that harmony. I used it here when we sang 2 songs that would have been in this. So the beautiful, rich harmony of that. And that was for Sunday morning. And none of the songs in this book were very bouncy. So for Sunday evening, we had another hymn book with bouncy music in it and more gospel-y, and that was another treasure, another Baptist hymnal. I don't think the United Church was as bouncy at the time. We were bouncing, and maybe you weren't, but. So, my hymn books, my sheet music, excuse me, I want to ask any of you here, first of all, in the hall, if you have ever played, and you don't have to have done it well, played a musical instrument. Andrea, what have you played? Guitar and clarinet. Very lovely. Vern. Trumpet. Yes. Walter. French horn and violin. Not at the same time. Walter did not procure that skill. Any other instruments in the room? Anna Marie? Did you say accordion? Recorder and piano? Yeah, no, I know the term, piano. I just wondered why we haven't heard that. That's really what you've outed yourself now as a piano player, and so we would like to hear that. So I'm going to turn to the screen now, and I'm going to actually turn around and watch with you. Oh, no, I need the gallery now. I need the gallery. There they are. Oh, Florence, I see. Florence is showing us a ukulele. This is her newest venture, is to learn to play the ukulele. Thank you, Florence. I'm looking at Glenn, who has a mouth organ. Glenn plays the mouth organ. I'm going to scan the screens now. Chris, you have no, Chris. Andrea, I'm coming along the screen here. I see Andrea, look, we're almost seeing it, little lower. There's Andrea's harp, beautiful harp. She has quite a number of, she has several harps and plays them beautifully, and we were wanting to schedule her in on the service. Karen Holcomb, what exactly is that?
That's a ukulele too.
That's another ukulele. How lovely. We have a duet coming along soon, I'm sure, between Karen and Florence. Frank has taken from his wall only a few of the instruments he owns. So there's a muted trumpet. There we go, a muted trumpet. And then what are you holding? Tell us about that, Frank.
This is called an ocean drum.
An ocean drum.
And because it sounds like the ocean.
When you strike it?
It's here.
I don't think it's hit. I think it's moved. Very lovely. Lovely. Anyone else on the screen would like to tell us of an instrument? Oh, Mike?
I
No.
play the viola.
This isn't it.
This is a violin symbolic of it.
You play the violin?
Viola.
I'm sorry. Yes, of course. You play the viola.
Past tense, please.
The things we're discovering. That's quite lovely. Didn't know that, Mike. Okay, Doug and Kathy, I'm seeing a trombone of a very beautiful color. And which one of you is the one that plays the trombone?
I play the trombone. I play the blues on this trombone.
Oh, very good. Plays the blues on a blue trombone. Very lovely.
Piano too.
Lovely. Piano too. Oh, beautiful. Now, how many on the screen have ever sung a song? There we go. I just wanted to include everyone at the end of that. We've sung together in the room as well. Thank you for that. I knew some of them, and some of them were a bit of a surprise. We're talking about music in terms of how it relates to life. And so I wanted to thank you for your patience with all the technical aspects of being heard. Getting things right in life is a challenge. Getting musical instruments tuned is a challenge. It is very ironic for me that we're doing a special on music on 2 Sundays on which the piano is sorely in need of a tuning. So if part of your head was just a little off as you listen to some of the notes, I tried to avoid those notes and just go around them, but they kept appearing. So, but getting music right. A man named John Shore was a trumpeter to the English king in the early 1700s. Handel, the Messiah Handel, who was then the court composer, gave John Shore music to play on his trumpet. During one of the concerts, John Shore split his lip on his trumpet and was never again able to play the trumpet. So he took up the lyre, L-Y-R-E, a stringed instrument. It didn't act the same as his trumpet, and he had to figure out how to tune it, how to get it to the right, to get it right. And so he invented the first slide on the PowerPoint. First slide. He invented the tuning fork, which when struck, if it's made correctly, emits a tone. And usually they tune a piano or tune instruments to the note A. Now, A has been different at different times of life and in different times of history and different countries. But there's a standard A for most Western music that when you hit it, it's called an acoustic resonator, and the prongs vibrate together and create a perfect song. He made the tuning fork, and so Handel's music, we know exactly what the A was in the Messiah, because it's the same tuning fork that has survived all this time. A change in the temperature can make a difference in the tuning fork. A change in temperature and humidity can make a difference in that piano there, and that's why you need to keep it tuned. And it also, the change in frequency, if a little bit of the metal gets chipped off, it doesn't sound the same anymore. And I thought that is so like life, to get it right, to keep things in tune in our life. It can change. How we feel can change with the temperature changing, with the humidity changing, with all the changes around us. So a tuning fork, now the next, I had the frequency. I had a picture of the frequency mathematically of what it took to get there, but I couldn't understand. I think it's there. Next picture, there. That's the formula to get the tuning fork to have the right instrument. John Shore walked around when he was upset that people weren't in tune with his tuning fork. He called it a pitchfork and say, "I'm bringing it everywhere I go to tune you all up into the right tune." So getting it right, getting it better is a struggle in life, and also for music. Also, the variety of music, as I just sort of touched on at the beginning, the variety of musical instruments. That's why I was happy to have you show them or speak about them. There's string instruments, and there's keyboard instruments, and there's percussive instruments, and there's brass and wind instruments. I'm just going to name some of them, just some of them, in the village of an orchestra or a band or any kind of band. And you know most of them, but violin, guitar, cello, harp, vina, sitar, banjo, ukulele, lute, mandolin, drums, xylophone, cymbal, maracas, timpani, chimes, marimba, bass drum, tambourine, snare drum, tabla, piano, harmonium, celeste, pipe organ, accordion, claviola, harpsichord, organ, synthesizer, harmonica, flute, trumpet, saxophone, mouth organ, piccolo, trombone, French horn, tuba, euphonium, cornet, oboe, clarinet, and bassoon. And under each of those names, there'd be different types of them. Under the word flute, there was over 23 different kinds, built differently, notched differently, and so that's the human community, and that's the community of musical instruments. The next slide is a diagram, and you don't have to read it, but it's a diagram with all the possible instruments and how they relate. It's very, very complex, which is the same as if we put a map of the human community on the globe. There'd be so many parts to it and so much. A beautiful book I had is called Music, Expression, and Culture. Has this to say about that community of differences together. It's a beautiful thought. Instruments are items of expressive culture as well as material culture. They are works of art and also technological inventions. They are sources of pleasure, and they're also sources of livelihood for people. The ancient Chinese classified music by what it took to make the sound. What was the surface or the material that was involved, and they had what they called the 8 sounds. The 8 sounds of music. And it's what was struck: metal, stone, vegetable gourd, bamboo, wood, silk, and earth, which would be pottery. So those were how they classified music, was what it took to make that music. Those 8 sounds aren't used much anymore, but it is preserved in a phrase. They said a commonly known phrase which I'd never heard before, so I'll give it to you. The phrase is silk and bamboo. Silk and bamboo. It was originally to indicate that the music ensemble would be strings, silk, and wind instruments, bamboo. Silk and bamboo. Now that phrase in music is evidently used to just describe something where there's a pleasant combination of different sounds. So if you're hearing something pleasant in the room or pleasant conversation, you say, that strikes me as silk and bamboo. What a lovely thought, what a lovely phrase, silk and bamboo, expressing difference together. All the possible instruments joining together. I thought I would show you a few of unusual instruments because I'm working on the theme of music and life. There are unusual people, and you might think of some of these unusual people in your life while we're looking at some unusual musical instruments. The difficult part is there may be someone who's thinking of you as an unusual person. We never quite know how we're being seen. But the first slide, next slide, that is a cello horn. A cello horn. It's a hybrid instrument dating back to just 1936. When you bow the strings on the cello horn, you hear a brass horn. Now, it does beg the question, why? Betty asked the question for us. Why? But evidently, it brings this unique mix of string and bass. And so, whenever you're looking at someone and how they're acting and what they're doing and what they think is important, you might ask, why? But there would be a reason there. And evidently, the people that play the cello horns are very, very enamored of it. The next slide is a postcard showing a woman in 1870 playing a lyre guitar. A lyre guitar, L-Y-R-E, guitar. It's a guitar shaped like a lyre, and it was only made as a fad, as a cool look, because it played exactly the same as a lyre, but it looked like a guitar, so she's holding it that way. And some things are done just for the joy of being different, just for fun, just for whatever. And so I take you to the next slide, which is called a Picasso guitar. A Picasso guitar. It's named a Picasso because of how it looks, which looks like a painting by Picasso. And it was created by a Canadian master luthier, Linda Menzer. This guitar has 42 strings, 4 necks, and weighs almost 15 pounds. But it was just for fun, just for an interesting way of playing music. And I take you to the last set of pictures. Have you heard the phrase, you can't get blood from a stone? Well, evidently, you can get music from a stone. Music from a stone. The term is a lithophone. Lithophone, in Greek, litho means a stone, and phono is a sound, a lithophone, so a stone sound. And there's all over the world, pictures, I saw so many pictures. I try and draw my pictures from Creative Commons, where we have permission to put the picture up, and sometimes you'll see that I've put the credit at the bottom of the photograph. But some of them are human-made, and that first one you see is in the garden of the convent in Germany, and it's just struck with these. But if you can think about it, how much experimentation went into finding the rocks that would play the tones that they wanted to play. I was blown away by the next picture, which are a set of stone chimes. Stone chimes, and they're in a provincial museum in China. So that's a human-made sound with stone. But it's also that you can use naturally located stone to play. And the next picture, if you've ever been to the Luray Caverns in Virginia, that is an organ. That is an organ in a cave. Andrew Campbell was leading a tour through the Luray Caverns, beautiful, beautiful stalactites and stalagmites and colors and little rivers going through the caverns. He was leading a tour through it, and 2 legends came from it, and they don't know which one is true. According to one legend, he struck one of the stalactites with a little mallet, and it played a sound. The other legend said his son bumped his head against a stalactite, and it made a sound. And when a man named Sprinkle, love his name, who worked in the Pentagon as a mathematician and electronics scientist, was on a tour through the cavern, and he witnessed the tapping, and he thought, I'm going to make, what he ended up making was the largest musical instrument in the world. The Luray Cavern organ is the largest musical instrument in the world. He took 3 years to do it, didn't wreck anything. What he did was he searched the vast chambers, miles, acres and acres in there, for just the right sounds, and he attached 13 English tuning forks to some stalactites, electronically hooked them up to a 4-manual organ. And if you see the next picture, it just gives you an immense thing at the size. It's just this little organ. Well, it's big, but the caverns are immense. And when you press the keys on the organ, a stalactite, there's the stones that fall from the cave, as opposed to the stalagmites, yes, that grow up. But when he presses the key on the organ, a stalactite will sound a perfectly pure note, and he can actually play in harmony. They get some of the stalactites to be making music in the cave. I've heard it. It's absolutely eerie. ethereal, magical, beautiful. You didn't want it to stop, but it was kind of it didn't sound like an instrument. It sounded, because it was stone. It was a stone. So you can get music from a stone. Last week we talked about sculpting our life, like creating a piece of music. And a Spanish painter and sculptor and ceramicist named Joan Miro says this: I try to apply colors in my painting like the words that shape poems, like the notes that shape music. So the shaping idea. And sometimes the material we've used to shape a song or shape our life come from our deepest roots. And so Donna will give us the words of Ray Charles.
My music had roots which I dug up from my childhood, musical roots buried deep in darkest soil.
My roots were buried deep in darkest soil, and he brought the music out from there. The idea is that folk music. Music is of the people. There's so many different kinds, and sometimes folk music is used to designate a certain type of music, but Louis Armstrong disagreed. He said, and I quote this exactly, "Man, all music is folk music. You ain't never heard no horse sing a song, have you?" So he's saying if it's human music, it's part of the human family, and I love that. Music also is a creation of an individual, maybe working with other people, but it's a very original creation. Joseph Haydn, a classical composer, said, "The other day there was no one near to confuse me, so I was forced to become original." And there's a beautiful thing of your own song, unaffected by anybody else around you. There's also music that makes a social commentary. Last time we talked about protest songs, and there's also songs that just bring out the idea of something that needs to change, or the musician himself or herself can speak out about that. John Lennon. For those of you in the cheap seats today, I'd like you to clap your hands to this one. The rest of you can just rattle your jewelry. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The idea of who can afford to go to a concert and who can afford to sit where in a concert. He was making a very good point about that. There's also a social commentary about Percy Grainger. Percy Grainger is a British conductor, composer, and orchestral leader. Country Gardens. He did Country Gardens, if you've heard that beautiful version. Percy Grainger was an extraordinarily athletic man and would often run from one concert to the next. On his first concert tour of South Africa, he misjudged the distance to his next destination, and the audience were already taking their seats when Grainger's friends, searching the horizon with binoculars, perceived a cloud of dust. It came and cleared to reveal a band of Zulu warriors heading for the township, with Grainger jogging along beside them. Arriving just in time for the concert, he demanded seats for his running companions. However, he was forced to leave them outside. Their admission would have resulted in Grainger's immediate deportation. Not just we didn't have room in your concert hall, we don't have room for anybody that would mingle with someone different. Deeply sad, deeply sad. And then there's all the music, the emotions of music. And this may not be your genre of choice, but Johnny Cash said it very well. Donna?
Of emotions, of love, of breakup, of love and hate and death and dying, mama, apple pie, and the whole thing. It covers a lot of territory. Country music does.
And sometimes there are surprises. I may have done this to Babette or Donna at times, and they have also done it to me. They did it this morning to me, and they don't know yet. I'll tell them later. But sometimes something brand new happens in the middle of a concert, and it's a surprise. A music composer named Leos Janicek died in 1928. He kept altering the score of his orchestration, called the Macropolis, even during the dress rehearsal, until the conductor lost his temper and said, "No more changes." Now, Babette has never yelled that very loud to me, but no more changes. The composer acquiesced and quietly departed. On the opening night, in the middle of the opera, the leader of the cello section and the conductor exchanged a look of astonishment and puzzlement as they found themselves playing music they had never seen before. Apparently, Janicek had snuck into the concert hall after the last rehearsal was over and discreetly inserted a whole new cello solo. So he's there in the concert hall playing a song he's never seen before, and it probably was quite beautiful. And life is full of surprises. Life is full of changes you weren't expecting. They say the thing you can actually expect in life is something unexpected. Same with the weather, it's unexpected. There's also music that's encouraging, and I'm going to play something that was very encouraging to me. But I quote a song by Lennon and McCartney. "Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart, and then you can start to make it better." The times in your life when things have been difficult, there will be various things that could help you through, things that could mean something to you, and you would just go away and either watch something or go for a walk in the woods. And for me, it was often playing something. When I was going through a particularly difficult time in my life, I would go into the church that I played, and I was quite young, in my early 20s, and I would play the arthritic, asthmatic pipe organ that I played at the time. I loved it. And I would play this song, but I would preface it with something in the sound of the organ that sounded like I was feeling low, I was feeling unsure, I was feeling didn't know what was going to happen, and some things were sad. And then I ended up into this hymn, a song. It's in it's not, it's in a different hymn book. But the song is about peace. The song is about peace flooding my soul, coming back to that grounded place. The words were very different than I would use now, but I've used the same song to do the same thing when I've been feeling low or challenged. And I'm just going to play it now, and I'm just going to ask the camera to go to the piano. And I'm going to play, if you could feel with me the troubled part of it, and then going into a song you may never have, I'm going to wager you haven't heard this song. But it meant a great deal to me, and I hope I can play it in the way that suggests the peace that this song about peace would have given me. So I'm just going to play it. again, just a simple old tune that could mean a lot. And by the time I would finish playing, I just felt a little more centered. Not magic, it was just that thing that music can do. You may not have found your musical style. You may not have a particular genre. Some people just love music. Some people are very much in a particular taste of music. And Nick Hornby, don't know Nick Hornby, but he made a comment on the different tastes in musical life. It's no good pretending that any relationship has a future if your record collections disagree violently, or if your favorite films wouldn't even speak to each other if they met at a party. Now, that is, part of the difficulty with us here is that what kind of music, we often play videos of different kinds of music. I can only sort of play one kind of music, and so that's a taste issue. For instance, some people live and breathe opera, and some people can't make head or tail of it. An opera and theater director at Harvard said this: opera is the ultimate art form. It has singing and music and drama and dance and emotion and story. But the poet Auden said, no good opera plot can be sensible, for people do not sing when they are feeling sensible. So his view of opera was very, very different. But to be open to difference in music, I've expanded. I've been dragged into other types of music and found myself liking something I wouldn't have known. Or not liking it, but appreciating it. Appreciating the skill, appreciating the meaning in it, or whatever. So the idea of expanding yourself enough to get a comfort level or appreciation with difference in music and in life. And the superb cellist Yo-Yo Ma had this to say about difference. Donna?
As you begin to realize that every different type of music, everybody's individual music, has its own rhythm, life, language, and heritage, you realize how life changes, and you learn how to be more open and adaptive to what is around us.
More open and adaptive. There may be times in our lives when we say, I don't want to be open anymore. I don't want to open up to this new thing or this change or whatever, and that strikes you in the face and you have a choice. Or I don't want to have to adapt again. I don't want to have to change. Someone mentioned earlier this morning, our bodies require us to adapt and change the way we live because what we are now able or unable to do as well or differently. So that idea to adapt, and music has often been a comfort and an encourage with that. The idea of being open to difference and expansion as we compose our life, as we improvise, and as we perform our lives. Wasily Kandinsky is a Russian painter and art theorist and a pioneer in abstraction in music and in art. And he said this, Donna?
Lend your ears to music, open your eyes to painting, and stop thinking. Just ask yourself whether the work has enabled you to walk about into hitherto unknown world. And if the answer is yes, what more can we ask?
I feel critiqued by that and challenged by that and comforted by that. Lend your ears open. Lend your eyes open to painting, to any form of art. And he says, stop thinking. Stop analyzing it and try and move into it. And he says, if you can walk about in it, if you can explore it, a whole different situation, a different job, a different illness that's come across for your child or for you, a different something, if you can walk about in it and get yourself comfortable in its knowledge. It may be a difficult thing, it may be an easy thing, it may be an easy thing, but to walk about in an hitherto unknown world. To walk about in a hitherto unknown world. That means we all have to be adventurers in life and in music, as he was saying, in music as well, to be an explorer, but in life to be. So the last part, I wanted to ask, maybe on the screen, I don't need to see the screen at the moment, but just raise a hand if ever your parents made you practice any instrument at all. Oh, nobody's smiling at all. They're all just telling me that they had to practice. I don't know. One of you last week was talking to me about the timer had to be on, and you had to stay doing that. My parents had 5 buttons, or I guess 10 when I got older, 5 buttons on this side of the piano, and every time I played the piece right, I moved the button to the other side of the piano and if I played it wrong, I had to move the button back and forth. And if they weren't looking, I just moved them all over there, and they came and said, that's not true, and they moved them all. They were trying to get me to play, and I didn't want to because I could see out the window everyone else was playing in the playground, and I had to practice piano. A book called The Artist's Guide to Liberation from Procrastination. The Artist's Guide to Liberation from Procrastination. He says this in it. You can buy an expensive violin, but you can't buy 10 years of practice. You can buy the instrument, but you can't buy the gain you would have gotten from just another one of my younger daughter. My older daughter took flute lessons and played beautifully, and we had her up at where I work and did concerts. Becky chose the piano, and she wanted me to be her teacher, which always has its challenges and its financial help. So I remember our very first piano lesson. She remembers this. We went downstairs to the piano, and I had the little beginner book where you would just play C, C, and E, E, and D, D, and they made it to sound like a piece, but it was just that. So I taught her to play that little thing, and she sat there and she looked at me. She said, "That's not what I wanted." And I said, "Well, what do you want?" She says, "I wanted you to tell me how to play like you play." And I said, "Well, this is how I started playing. How I played. It was just these little things. But you can buy an expensive violin, but you can't buy 10 years of practice. You can want to do something well, but there really isn't any replacement for the hard work, and that's where the theme of life comes into. As we compose our life, it's hard work to make the choices that draw from our character and build our character, and the knowledge that we completely fell on our face there. We did something that isn't worthy of what we wanted to do, and we've hurt someone, or we've upset someone, and we've got to work through another problem, another issue. And it is work. It's work to examine yourself, to let yourself be exposed to a new way of thinking about a person, about a situation, and get at home in it, to let it walk about in it, as that artist said, walk about in it and get familiar with it so you can move yourself into it. It's hard work. I wanted to end with a video, a YouTube video. And I don't even want to tell you about it because I want you to experience it. But what I want you to draw from it is, this is a conductor of a section of a Beethoven symphony. And if you could watch closely, you might even want to come closer to the screen if you wish, or I'll give you the link and you can watch it at home. Watch every bit of emotion in the conductor's face, every single expression that the music brings to him in his pajamas. If you can see him now. He conducts the whole movement with no music in front. He's 3 years old. He's 3 years old. And he will conduct this with more feeling than some conductors I've seen. And what you're going to see at the very end, make sure we look at the very end, is what happens to all his work and how he handles what happens to him. And so just watch this for the music, for the life lessons, and watch this little fella's face as he lives the music. He walks about in it and does it without a scrap of sheet music in front of him. So I give you a 3-year-old conducting a movement in a Beethoven symphony.
When people are asked on surveys, what's the number one?
No audio coming through on Zoom.
Just me? I'm not coming through on Zoom? Now I am?
It.
Yeah,
Yep,
we're
got
okay
it.
now, Scott.
Oh, thank you. You did hear the music?
Yes, very well.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, it would have been a little tedious without the music.
Yes.
I just thought that encapsulated what these two times together about music has done. He was so in that. He walked about it and he lived it. He wasn't, I mean, he must have heard that enough times to know what was coming when and how to express it, how to make transitions. One conductor has said, music is about transitions. Conducting is about moving to the next thing in life, moving to the next thing. And then when it doesn't work out, there was no temper tantrum there. He just collapses in laughter and at the whole thing. And is obviously, I don't know if you could hear it, there's obviously very supportive people in his life. They were enjoying that with him. I love the fact that he had to keep wiping his nose because that's life too. And he wasn't, I guess he knew he was being filmed, but he wasn't self-conscious. We were witnessing his joy in that. So I leave that with you as I'll give you the link. You can watch it if you want to pick me up about how to do the hard things and the good things in life. So 3-year-old concludes us, and I'll ask Babette to lead us in our lesson.
Become a sustaining champion of West Hill United's work by committing to an automatic monthly donation. Learn more or donate now through Canada Helps.